Okay, everyone out there, I'm going to start this episode with a question for you. Have you ever stretched the truth, left out a detail, or polished a weakness just enough to make yourself look a little stronger in a negotiation, a job interview, or maybe even a first date? Yeah? Well, welcome to the wild, wild world of self-interest. I am so incredibly excited about this topic, so let's get started. Welcome listeners and viewers far and wide, from the shores of City Island to the Shake Shack at Citi Field. I'm Eirik Gislason, associate broker and team leader of the Excelsior team at Brown Harris Stevens, master certified negotiation expert and instructor, founder of Archway Partners Coaching, and your host of the Shear Line Negotiation Mastery podcast. So if this is your first view or listen to the Shear Line, thank you and welcome. Let me explain our name, Shear Line. Inside a lock, the shear line is the space or the line that's created when the right key is inserted and all the pins align, allowing the lock to turn and open. And that's what we're after. Precision, understanding, and unlocking better conversations. So whether you're in banking, sales, leadership, real estate, or just trying to get your toddler to wear shoes, this is the podcast for you. And speaking of banking and shoes, I guess, I'm excited to be joined by mortgage expert, lending whisperer, social media standout, giver of time and talent, connector of people, and bastion of positivity, Jacqueline Plaza of Chase Home Lending. Nice to have you here, Jacqueline. I'm so excited.
To be here.
And Jacqueline, I'll formally introduce you to our audience in a couple of minutes. But first, let's cut the key on one of my favorite all-time negotiation topics, self-interest. As I mentioned, at the core of understanding buyer psychology is the notion that people take actions that serve their own self-interest, or at least what they perceive to be in their interests. But when it comes to navigating or negotiating with our own client, for instance, in the mortgage lending process, that can get complicated. Buyers naturally want to present their best selves, the strongest possible version of themselves, and that's understandable given the stakes. However, when they withhold, gloss over, or polish up their financials, for instance, they're not protecting their chances, they're actually jeopardizing them. And ironically, they risk derailing the very partnership designed to help them succeed. So how do we help buyers understand that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's a strategy? And how do professionals build the kind of credibility that makes clients want to bring us into the room, not shut us out of it? Now, to understand the conflict between impression and interest, let's dive into our brain for a moment. See, our brain is wired for management, not just honesty. The medial prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for self-referential thinking, lights up like the Rockefeller Christmas tree when we're deciding what to share and how others will perceive it. In other words, we don't just process facts, we process how those facts will make us look. This is called impression management, and it kicks in automatically when we feel judged, evaluated, or vulnerable, like sharing our full financial picture, for instance. So when buyers talk to a mortgage professional, that brain system goes into overdrive. Even if sharing the full financial picture would help them get the right loan or ensure co-op board approval, the brain is busy calculating. Will this make me look irresponsible, risky, unqualified? So they start editing, omitting, polishing. Not out of deception, but out of self-preservation, which ironically can sabotage their actual self-interest. So let me introduce the incredible Jacqueline Plaza and bring her into this conversation. With 26 years at JP Morgan Chase, Jacqueline leads one of the top home lending teams in the entire country, based right here in Manhattan. She manages a high-performing group of seasoned professionals navigating one of the most competitive real estate markets in the United States. She's not just a respected leader and recruiter. She's deeply committed to building strong relationships with real estate agents, growing top-tier talent, and driving home ownership across diverse communities. Jacqueline is the 2025 president of the Manhattan chapter of NAHREP, the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, and a passionate advocate for Hispanic and Latino home buyers. Outside the office, she's a lover of music, laughter, pop culture, and she's proudly fluent in the fine art of binge-watching great TV. She's a results-driven leader who brings both impact and energy. And probably with the remaining 5 or 6 minutes of your day, you stare lovingly at the moon and save puppies?
Yeah, just about. Yeah.
Well, welcome to Shear Line, Jacqueline. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you. And I just wanted to personally congratulate you on once again winning Dad of the Year.
Thank you. Thank you. 2024. Well, 2025 is not yet, the results are not yet in, but 2024, I did eke it out. And as I like to say, my wife and kids are the only ones who vote. So it's the losses that are a little bit more impactful than the wins.
But they help you elevate for the next year,
That's
right?
right. That's right. Okay. I'm always striving to become better.
That's right.
Well, all right. So let's get into our conversation. You are passionate about this topic as I am, and understanding how we can align with our client's self-interest is paramount, I'm sure, not only with your team, but with every client that you meet that comes in to Chase. So in your experience, how do buyers typically define their own self-interest at the beginning of the process with you?
So when they're coming to a lender and, they want a loan, that is their self-interest. They're looking to get approved for a particular dollar amount, and they're sharing information. They're willing to share information to that end. So, for the most part, people are coming in, we want to buy a home. It's a predetermined self-interest there. Great.
And how does their perception of their self-interest, if they're coming in and they have a perceived interest that may cause them to hide a little bit something here and there, how can that work against their ultimate goal if that's something that they do?
So when you come to a lender and you want to buy a home, you are somewhat prepared to open the books, so to say. You are going to share your assets. Even if you haven't gone through this process before, an experienced mortgage provider, mortgage professional is going to say, hey, here's what I need to know. I need to know about your assets. I need to know about your income, your employment. I need to know about any liabilities that you have. And then let's get into details. So that can be really vulnerable for folks. And, if the individual isn't really grounded in the belief that the professional they're sitting across the table with or from is going to take this information, hold it in confidence, and use it in their best interests, then you start to edit what you were talking about before. How do I manage the perception? How do I control the distribution of this information so that I maintain some control in an environment where I don't feel like I have a whole lot of control?
Right.
And so what I have found is sometimes, not out of deception or anything like that, just out of wanting to maintain some control, some leverage, some space for self-negotiation and self-interest, sometimes a client won't tell us the whole picture about their assets because they don't want that information to be used against them as a means to upsell them.
Yeah.
Sometimes they won't share everything up front about any liabilities or obligations that they have, be out of fear that it might disqualify them or hurt their chances.
Yeah.
If they're changing employment, sometimes they don't tell us that right away. Yeah. We have had a few instances where people changed jobs just before they were cleared to close.
Great.
And that kicked off quite a party.
Yeah, right. Or bought a boat or an RV or something.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Big purchases coming up, right? Big withdrawals coming out, expenses that they knew that were coming down the line, but didn't want to share with us because they may not have thought it mattered or did not feel that it was something that they were prepared to share. So by and large, most folks, more than 90%, they're doing their best. They're sharing as much as they can.
Yeah.
Very few will withhold information intentionally. That in-between group are the ones that aren't comfortable yet, aren't willing to get that vulnerable yet.
Well, and I love that you brought up the fact of how trust in our relationships with our clients is at the top of everything that we do, right? I mean, if somebody is perceiving that you will use information that they give you against them, clearly we have to say time out, stop, because there is a trust gap. There's a trust issue that maybe has not evolved, but just has not been cleared away with that client. And I'm sure, as we all do in New York City real estate, we deal with people that are in control in many roles that they have in their life, whether it's their role in work, or their role on a foundation, or their role in their volunteer world. They are elevated to these high positions where they are typically in control. And so when they come into a situation where it requires them to have some vulnerability, it makes sense that unless the trust is there, there's going to be a potential where they might say, maybe I'll just hold this back a little bit, because to your point, maybe this won't have an impact. Maybe there's really nothing wrong with me doing this. And if I just kind of let it slide under the table, and we do this in our everyday lives all the time, right? If I just let it go, maybe it'll end up being a lot of nothing. And we hope against hope, kind of.
Yep. And sometimes it's, let me just keep this in my back pocket. I'll bring it up if it seems like I need to.
That's right. Yeah. Well, speaking of back pocket, let's back pocket a break. I don't know. There was a terrible, I don't know where I was going with that, but let's take a break and we'll be back right after this.
Hey, it's Stephen Bailey from Roadway Moving and Storage. As an official moving partner of Brown Harris Stevens, we know that your clients deserve more than just a move. At Roadway Moving and Storage, we turn moving into an experience they will love. From specialized services to a white glove treatment, we've got it all covered. When you choose Roadway, you're choosing a peace of mind for your clients. Plus, our referral program is the most rewarding in the industry. Want to learn more? Shoot me an email at steven@roadwaymoving.com or visit roadwaymoving.com.
Do you have a big move coming up? I'm Scott Nadler with Cross Country Mortgage, and I've got the loan to match your dream home. Whether it's your first or your fifth, I'll make the process quick and easy. Call me today. Let's make it happen.
All right, we are back with Jacqueline Plaza from Chase Home Lending. We were talking about trust, talking about vulnerability. How do you approach those moments if someone is withholding or potentially withholding some information? How do you approach those moments without making them defensive or without putting them in a defensive position?
I think it actually starts with some of the first interactions you have with the client, because, or any person for that matter, because if you haven't set the stage for what your goals are out of the upcoming interaction, then they're not sure how to align with you either. They're not sure if this is a person that they can be vulnerable and open with unless you have prepared the space for them to do that, so to speak.
Right.
So if at a later point it becomes apparent that we haven't achieved that moment of trust, and there may be some withholding going on, there may be something a little deeper that I need to dig into, then I have to, the fact that I have established or said what my motivation was up front, it becomes a reference point. I can mirror that. I can bring that forward again.
Yeah, I love that.
I can say, remember when we first met, I shared with you that my number one mission is to make sure that you have the best possible home buying experience, that you feel comfortable, that you feel confident, that you feel that you're in control of your financial goals. And it's the only thing I need to make sure of is that I have the information to help serve that purpose.
The way that you state that is perfect. And that giving over of or acknowledging that I want you to be in control. I want you to be confident. I want every decision that's made to be your decision. And to set that up at the beginning. I mean, Deepak Malhotra says process before substance, right? In any negotiation, we want to deal with what is the process of this negotiation, or what is the process of this of what we're doing here, and then we get into the substance. And if you do that, there's already that level of expectation and that giving, that exchange, that reciprocity that starts at the beginning. And then to your point, you can just go back and reference it. I love that. I love that. So what are some early signs you pick up on that a buyer isn't being fully transparent? Like what might you pick? What signs might you see that would lead you to think, all right, maybe there's a little something else here?
So it'll be in, the behavior of the client. We as human beings, we're pretty fascinating how our brains work and how we pick up on subtle cues, voice, eye contact, body language. A lot of our work, though, is done by phone. And by paperwork, the exchange of paperwork. So oftentimes we don't have the advantage of the body language. What we do have the advantage of is the paperwork.
Yeah.
And so, if there's a liability or there's an asset that hasn't been brought forward in conversation, when we're going through the tax returns, we're going through the bank statements that they have provided, we're going through the transactions, we'll see something like, we see a monthly payment for the same dollar amount going to the same institution. What's that?
Yeah.
Say more about that thing. What is that?
Yeah.
So, that would be, those are the clues and the cues that we follow. Also, I mentioned earlier about, things that people keep in their back pocket. So, if we come up against a roadblock and then the client says, doesn't seem so concerned, oh, okay, well, I have this other thing, okay, so what more? If this is coming up for the first time now, all right, let's reset. What else do I need to know so that we don't run into roadblocks or hurdles or stress points further along the road?
That's great, because the idea that this one thing might represent the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, and it may absolutely not. There may be nothing behind this. This may be the one thing, but that idea that you say, okay, we know that it's in everybody's interest, especially in the client's interest, to uncover what there is to uncover before we, Titanic style, go scraping into the side of an iceberg, to get an understanding of what's underwater, what we haven't seen yet, will then again help them ensure that they have the best possible process and the best possible outcome. Yeah. You mentioned earlier that idea of upselling, and we deal with that as real estate agents, obviously with clients, and I think that as an industry, we don't do a very good job of building that trust with clients in some circumstances, to let them know that we are aligned with their interests when it comes to everything, including all of the variables: price, size, location, amenities, timing, everything that is required to make sure that this is successful. That we want to make sure that we're not pushing their budget. There may need to be some elasticity on some of these other parts of the process if price is inelastic, but addressing that and making sure that they know that this isn't about getting you to purchase a $2 million home when you really want to purchase a $1.5 million home just because you can afford it, or just because you have the DTI that would allow you to get that mortgage. I think that's really important as well.
Yeah, and I think forums like this, anytime we have the conversation, anytime we have the platform to share what our mindset is in terms of how we approach clients, I think helps everyone, because I think you're right. There's a lot of misconception about all of us, right? Yeah. Mortgage lenders, real estate agents, et cetera. There's the fear that a client will be upsold. There's a fear that they'll be put into a product or a home that isn't really what they were looking for. And the fact of the matter is that how we are compensated, how we build our business only works,
yeah,
is only sustainable. We only have a career if we are 100% aligned with our clients.
Yeah.
If we misserve a client, the damage that one relationship or that one interaction can have far exceeds, the worth of doing the wrong thing.
Right. And I'm sure that it's obviously the same in mortgage as it is in brokerage and real estate sales, that there are people who are transactional, who may get away with that transactional behavior a few times or for a small period of time, or maybe a certain period of years, but to sustain a decades-long career as you have, and I'm sure many of the people on your team have, as I have, you must approach your business in that way, that the relationship is far more important than getting one single deal done.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned a phrase, you talked about that idea of process before substance. We, talking to the client about, I want you to be confident. I want you to be comfortable. I want you to be in control. Are there other phrases or other behaviors that you use to invite people to open up, even when it might feel risky to them?
I like to lead with their vision. Tell me what you want to accomplish. What does perfection look like to you? You know, what are the pain points that you are worried about? What have you heard? You know, what are you most worried about? But conversely, because I don't want to get them, you know, too worried.
Sure.
There's no need for worry. But I also want to understand, what are you most looking forward to? You know, what would be ideal for you? What's more important? Is it the monthly payment or the upfront costs? You know, that's where I might get into more mortgage-specific types of differentiators. But I want the other person to talk. Yeah. And the more they talk and the less I talk, the more I hope that they understand. And what I'm trying to communicate in that exchange is that what they want is the goal.
Yeah.
And my role is to listen, absorb, and figure out how to achieve it.
Right. Yeah.
I don't expect anyone to understand the minutia of mortgage credit policy, you know, processes, the closing process, how we calculate everything. That's not their role. Their role is to tell me what is the vision, and mine is to figure out, okay, knowing that and knowing this, how do I make it happen?
Oh, I love that. And that, again, goes back to that, having that level of trust with a client where they can share with you what their vision is in a very vulnerable way. As I said at the beginning, the vulnerability becomes part of our strategy, not something that is a weakness for them. And when you have that relationship, and when you can start the relationship off where you're setting up what they want and you're interested in what they're interested in, that's going to take you to those moments where you need to have a difficult conversation, where you do find that line item in their bank statement where it's like, okay, this is something I see it's reoccurring. Let's have a conversation about this. When you do all of that work up front, those moments and that phone call become conversational. It's a fact-finding mission as opposed to putting someone back on their heels and making them defensive.
Right. You know, and I do find wherever I can opportunities to reassure and validate what they're feeling. Because a lot of folks, you know, you'll feel very alone in those moments of vulnerability. Like, I am the only person in the history of all time to feel like this, and that is not true.
Yeah, right.
You know, everyone has felt. I have felt that way when I've bought 2 homes in my lifetime. I hope to buy more. Every time I went through the mortgage process myself, mortgage professional that I was at the time, it's still vulnerable. It's still uncomfortable. You're still, you know, because nothing is guaranteed until you are signing and you have your keys, you know. So walking through those moments myself, I can absolutely relate. But what I can also share is that there is a process. There is very often a solution for almost every problem. And so however one might feel in that moment, stressed, worried, vulnerable, uncomfortable, not in control the way you might normally feel that you're in control of a situation, that is okay. Guess what? I'm going to hold your hand and we're going to get through this. And you just envision yourself 30 days from now signing.
Yeah.
And walking into your brand new empty home, the lights coming in through the windows.
Yeah.
I'm getting you from this moment to that moment.
Right. And that forward looking, envision yourself after success. Envision yourself 30 days from now. Envision what the possibilities are for your future self in success.
Right.
And that will oftentimes get us through those moments where, you know, you're wondering whether to run from something or run towards something. And we want them to run toward the future that looks successful for them. And I love that, setting it up. Yeah. And I was actually, you know, one of the things that you answered so beautifully was about that strategic vulnerability, or strategic empathy, as we call it in negotiation, and how you can share or bring into the conversation your own experience to show them that you're not alone. You're not the only one who felt this way. And you can model that openness. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what happened when I did this. And I share your frustration, or I share your fear, or I share, you know, however that's manifesting itself, and you can then partner with them.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. And that strategic vulnerability with any negotiator is just magic.
I just think it's important that, because I'm not transactional, I am relationship driven, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel uncomfortable when someone else is uncomfortable. Although I know I'm going to get through this moment and I know the process of how to get things done, etc., I can feel how they feel to a degree. And I'm like, listen, and I've become a hugger the older I've gotten. So I'm like, listen, when I say I'm going to hold your hand, sometimes I do hold hands. Sometimes I do give a hug. Sometimes there's tears shed, but that's okay. We're human. I want to be human. I want to elevate that humanity. I want to help people.
Wonderful. Well, let's wrap our arms around a break and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Evan Greenberg with Langdon Title. I specialize in title insurance across New York, helping real estate attorneys, agents, and brokers close with confidence. I solve problems fast and keep your deals moving. Contact me anytime.
Ultimate Diamond is New York City's most established family-owned jeweler. With over 65 years of experience, Ultimate is renowned for its exceptional, custom-crafted diamond jewelry, its bespoke engagement ring designs, and its ability to source rare, distinguished timepieces. Ultimate has built a legacy of timeless craftsmanship and discretion, making it a trusted name among those who value refined luxury. Learn more at ultimatediamond.com.
Welcome back. To continue our conversation, and it's fascinating how parallel our conversations and our interactions with our clients are if you understand how that empathy and how power plays into every negotiation and every situation, and how partnering with your client to share in that power with them can be so impactful. So what's one thing you wish every buyer understood about how transparency actually gives them more power, not less?
I think it's exactly that. I think, if I were to give any advice to a buyer, it would be start early. It would be share everything about your goals and your current financial situation and what you expect your financial situation to be. Because much like an attorney, although totally different, profession with more degrees.
Lucky them.
Yes, I know. But much like that relationship with a legal expert, when you're sitting with a financial expert, there is an expectation of privacy. The information that they're sharing is going to be held confidentially. And the more information you can give that financial professional, the more data points they have to A, find a solution, and B, prevent problems. Mm-hmm. So if I'm that nexus point between what you want and what I know needs to occur to give you what you want, then I need all the details, good, bad, or indifferent, things that you may not even believe are important because you don't know the process.
Right.
But they are actually material to the process. So I'm looking for, there's a meme out there with like someone sitting and then like all the arithmetic is like floating in the air around. Right. So I'm fully present as you're sharing the information, but the back of my mind is formulating the solution.
Yeah.
And so I need all the data points to come out with the right solution. And like I said, avoid the problems.
Yeah, and that sometimes the information, we talked about withholding information or being concerned that the information that they give might make them look a certain way, and that might be a reason to withhold. But sometimes it is just, unless you allow them to think about it or to give them the space to think about all of the things that they might want to tell you, sometimes they're just things that are missed because they're not looking at them as elements of the equation or as factors in the ultimate equation, where that if nothing else, it's good to know them. They may play a very small role in the ultimate answer to the equation that you're bringing up in all the mathematics in your head.
And sometimes too, to your point, it may or may not be material to getting the loan approved or material to getting the loan closed on time, or may not affect the transaction, but it may absolutely affect how they feel about going through the process. If I understand there's a timing element that they're worried about, but I have no idea,
right?
Then how can I reassure them and help them feel confident and in control if I'm not aware of that timing element.
Yeah. Yeah. And they may then start to make determinations of how they can process that timing element, or how they can control that timing element themselves without looking to the person that can actually help them, reassure them that that timing element's not an issue, or to help them bridge that gap and make that timing element work for them.
Right.
That's great.
I'll give you one last one on the asset piece, because I was saying before that sometimes the client will say, oh, you don't need to know about that account. I don't actually need it to qualify, except that particular asset account might qualify them for a rate discount and bring their monthly payment down even further. Or conversely, if they're looking to boost their buying power, could have made that difference,
Right.
and given them more negotiation leverage
Yeah.
in their offer with different sellers. So it's things like that. So again, it may impact what we can offer, but it may be a detail that just would help, if I knew, would help them have a better experience in the process.
It's such a great point. It's such a great point. I mean, it's not always about the thing that's going to keep them from going off the cliff. Sometimes it's the thing that's going to actually give them more leverage, give them a better rate, give them some more power that if you don't know about it, they just don't, it just doesn't come up. They don't get access to that benefit. That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna switch gears. We're gonna go into our lightning round. So I'm gonna cue our music. Okay, lightning round. Pretty good. Thanks. All right. So lightning round. Now these are just questions that they don't have to be a one-word answer. I want your insights on these, so take as much time to answer them as you'd like, but they're just, quick, fun questions for you. All right. So you have an awesome social media presence, and you seem to have a lot of fun with all of the things that you post, and I've actually been able to take part in one of those with you. So what is your all-time favorite post, or most recent favorite post that you've seen or created?
I have to say, I like the one that you and I did together.
That was good. That was fun.
I mean, you were on point with the lip sync. and every time I watch it, I just laugh a little bit, because I remember in that moment how much fun we were having. We had just finished the home buyer seminar, right? It was a great day. It was a great moment. And we were having fun sharing that feeling with the world. So that one I really enjoy. And I have to give you kudos. Your lip sync was on point.
Okay, thanks.
And when I've been looking to do recently is people are always asking me how to change a tire one. Have you seen that one?
No.
All right. I think I've got it. Stay tuned. There may be a alleged tire changing post coming out. And one might say, how does that relate to real estate? Don't worry, I got to figure it out.
You always do. And the thing that I love about all of your posts is not only do you find a way to connect the things that you do, make them relevant to your industry, to the real estate profession, but you clearly are bringing people in. You are such a great connector of people, and you bring people in, and like me, you allow us to just have a little fun doing it with you, and it shows. It just jumps right out of the camera when you watch your social media. So I love it. All right, second question: what's one negotiation lesson that you wish you had learned earlier in life?
For myself, I would have liked to learn two things. One is to just go ahead and ask. And two is to be more clear about what were my requirements versus what were my nice to haves. Like must have versus nice to have.
Right.
Because when I'm super clear, what I found is in those situations where I am super clear on what I must have and what would be nice to have, then my leverage, my negotiation, my success in that exchange goes up exponentially.
Yeah.
And also I'm not wasting anybody's time, my own or the other person's, because if I know it's not going to work and that's my must have, thank you, we'll part as friends. That's okay. I still like you.
Yeah.
We just didn't get to do a deal or get whatever it was.
Yeah.
But going ahead and asking and understanding what I must get out of the exchange versus what would be nice as a bonus that's where the nice to haves give you like some playroom
That's
with
right.
the other person.
That's right. Yeah. When we say it's something that I would prefer to have, it seems as though there's some negotiation wiggle room around this. There's a zone of possible agreement around me getting that thing. Whereas if we're anchoring and saying this is something that is I need, that is a requirement that meets, that unless I get it, does not meet my minimum goals, then we can establish that as an anchor point, and we're far more likely to get that thing, or far more likely to get more of what we want than if we make it seem like, yeah, well, this is all just preference, and you know, something around this would be nice.
Yes.
And a lot of people make that mistake, I think, as negotiation. That's great. All right, so what is your go-to move when it's 6 p.m., you're leaving the office, and you haven't made dinner plans?
So you mean a regular day?
Yeah. Maybe it's 7 p.m. though, right?
Yeah. My go-to move is, one of those food delivery services.
Okay.
I live in New Jersey, so by the time I get off the commuter bus, I'm like, I'm not thinking about anything. Just click, 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 make it show up. By the time it arrives, I'm in my pajamas on the sofa,
I love it.
ready to watch my TV shows.
Okay. Well, that's a great transition into my last question for you on the lightning round here. You mentioned, or I mentioned at the top of the podcast, that you are a fluent binge watcher of television. So tell us a little bit about that. What are you watching now?
Like my whole roster of shows.
Oh yeah, yeah. Tell as much as you want. Yeah, the whole roster. Let's hear. When you have your pajamas on and the food is in front of you, you put that. What's going on? And so as soon as you hit the clicker.
All right, I'll give you categories and
Okay, all right,
an
great.
example of each category. Because when I say I'm fluent in the binge watching, I take this hobby seriously.
Yeah, clearly.
To my everlasting shame, I used to be a binge reader. I used to read all the time. And then, I don't know, Netflix happened. And
Yeah.
I'm just watching the TV versions of all the books. All right, so category number 1 is reality TV, but must be real estate related.
Okay.
I am fascinated with any reality TV show based around real estate.
Okay. All right.
All of the selling this and selling that and owning this and owning that and whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I'm always
Fixing this, fixing that.
It doesn't. That's right. I'm like, I could totally redo my own bathroom. If my husband sees me walking through the house with a sledgehammer, he knows I've just watched something. So let's see. So that's category number 1, real estate related reality TV. The second is just feel good fun.
Okay.
So like just take me out of any, decision making or crisis management of someone who didn't tell me something and I have to fix it now.
Right.
Let me just feel really good. I like Schitt's Creek. I like Ted Lasso. I like Only Murders in the Building, that kind of stuff. Just
Those are some greats.
basically the macaroni and cheese of TV.
Yeah. Yeah. The macaroni and cheese of TV. That's awesome.
And then if I want to get my heart rate going, I'll watch some sort of shoot 'em up, bang 'em up thriller type thing. So Lioness with Zoe Saldana.
Okay.
That was great.
Yeah.
Love
I don't
that.
know it.
Oh yeah, I think it's a few years ago. I think there might be another season. Anyway, perfect for binging because the seasons are right there at your fingertips. What else did I watch? Oh, Handmaid's Tale. It's a nail biter. For me, anyway. Some people.
Do you get upset when you've come to the end of a season or of a show that is closed out and there's no more seasons? Do you get upset like, oh gosh, now is there a letdown there?
If they've done the closeout of the show well, like Ted Lasso, like Schitt's Creek, then I'm like, aw, that was a time. A time was had, you know, and then I can go back and watch it again. And it's okay. I'm okay that series has ended because they did it so well.
Right.
Right? The arc has completed. We're good. But if the arc is not complete, and I know that there's another season coming, then when the current season ends and there's no more binging to be had, I'm very upset. I need more right now. So that's how I feel about Handmaid's Tale at the moment, because now I have to wait week by week to see the next
Oh,
episode.
yeah.
And this past Tuesday, I was
That's the
highly
worst.
upset because they weren't releasing the next episode on the Tuesday. I have to wait another week. But it was a surprise. I was already in my pajamas. I already had the food, and it wasn't there.
That's such a disappointment.
I
Yeah.
was so upset. Yeah.
Well, look, Jacqueline, I am so thrilled that you came, not only to join me on Shear Line, but on this specific topic. So the last question I have for you is, how can people find you? If they want to connect with you, reach you, how do they do it?
So you can find me on LinkedIn, Jacqueline Plaza. You can find me on Instagram, The Real Chase Plaza. See what I did there. And you can also call me, 917-921-6083.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline. And we're going to take a break, and I'm going to come back with my final thoughts.
This beautiful set here at Studio 1873 is brought to you by the Everset. The Everset provides full-service staging and furniture rental solutions in the New York area. We work with Brown Harris Stevens and many other top real estate firms, staging their homes to sell quickly and at the highest price possible. Our staging is affordable without sacrificing quality or design. For more information, please visit us at staging.theeverset.com or email us at staging@theeverset.com to request a free proposal.
What do you really need to know about buying or selling a home? First, it's serious business, and it's complicated. There's a lot of money on the table, and emotion too. You need an agent who knows the ropes. So, whether you're buying or selling your home, work with professionals who have a mastery of the craft.
Well, welcome back, and it's time for my final thoughts on this of one of my favorite topics, as I mentioned, in negotiation, self-interest. So as a final thought, I'd like to share 3 things to watch out for when it comes to the self-interest principle in negotiation. Number 1, people don't always act in their self-interest. They act in their perceived self-interest. Now, this is key. People make decisions based on what feels safe or beneficial, not always what is. That means fear, ego, and assumptions can drive behavior, as Jacqueline mentioned in our interview, like hiding financial information from a lender or refusing a great offer because you feel insulted. Watch out for emotional reactions, defensiveness, or vague justifications. These often reveal perceived threats to self-interests, not actual ones. Number 2, when clients protect, they withhold. Self-protection shows up as information control. I'll share what helps me, and I'll hide what might hurt me. But if they're only giving us the curated version of the truth, we're negotiating in the shadows. So watch out for polished language, dodged questions, or selective transparency. These are signs that they don't yet trust that sharing is in their best interests. And 3, influence happens when we align with our client's self-interest. And we talked a lot about this. If you want to persuade someone, show them how the outcome serves their goals, not yours. Influence is not about pressure. It's about clarity. People take action when they clearly see how that action benefits them. So use strategic questions that connect the dots for them. For instance, if you hold that back, how does that affect the level of risk that you're taking on? Or how might that choice affect your chances of getting approved? Or what would give you the confidence to be completely upfront right now? So thank you, everyone. As a reminder, you can support this show by following, subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Just go to getmorenetwork.com, and there you can check out all of the amazing shows on the More Network, including past episodes of Shear Line. You can find me all over Instagram at archway.partners, as well as on YouTube and Facebook at Eirik the Expert. You can contact the Excelsior team by going to bhsusa.com, and you can connect with my company, Archway Partners Coaching, by visiting archwaypartnersinc.com. There you can find information about one-on-one coaching, group coaching, our new Mighty Network community, and the incredible courses we are developing and offering. So remember, there is a key for every lock, but it's the right combination of grooves, cuts, and teeth that lift the pins and create the shear line. Until next time, keep turning curiosity into connection, mystery into mastery, and keep unlocking what's possible. Thank you, everybody.